What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. This video would be a semi-vlog, semi-workout educational video, so you can actually see how I train and you can take the exact principles and incorporate into your own program. What I see usually is that calisthenics athletes, they don't really know how to train. They just do a minimal warm-up, lasting a few sets to failure, not resting enough, and then just do the same thing over and over again without too much variety, actually. So I wanted to actually show some insights into my training. I actually post a lot of it in my stories daily on Instagram. Each workout I do, I just post on my story. But in this video is going to be a little bit more insightful, so you can actually see and what I do inside the training, not just, you know, the main sets or anything. So stay tuned. Let's get. Alright, so as you can see, I already have magnesium on my hands. I actually forgot to film the warm-up, but I have a few steps for my warm-up. One is just general warm-up, which I usually go for a walk, or if it's hot outside like today, I'm already pretty warmed up, like my core temperature is pretty high. And then I do some general warm-ups, doing some band work, doing some arm circles, like joint circles, and then I have a specific warm-up where I just do the exact movement but in a slower pace or lower intensity, or focusing on a certain technique, and then I start the main sets. So the last part of my warm-up, as I said, is more technical kind of stuff, low intensity, the exact movement that I actually train. So it's really specific to my training and training the exact movement before I go for the main sets. So I have this phone here and I put a timer for 10 minutes. I'm gonna do an EMOM, a pretty low intensity EMOM of pull-ups and push-ups, maybe bar dips. I also have this bar dips. So I might just doing bar dips or push-ups, whatever. And for 10 minutes, really low intensity, about 10% of my max reps, and then I go for the main sets. So as you can see, it's really light, just 10 minutes to warm up the body, train the exact movement with 100% perfect technique. Maybe you didn't hear that, with 100% perfect technique. Really focusing on body awareness and preparing for the main sets. So now it's the last one for the warm-up, 4 pull-ups and 8 bar dips or push-ups. Just wanted to show you how the last set looks like, because the whole idea is keeping the technique to a perfect degree. So what it does, it helps your body to understand the movement better and creates better neurological efficiency adaptations, so you can actually perform the movement at the most efficient way possible to you. So this is how it looks like. You see, really easy. My technique hasn't broken in any of these reps, and this was just a general warm-up, the last part of the warm-up, and then I'm gonna do the main sets now. So let's go. Okay, so I rested for a few minutes. I just wanted to make sure that there was any accumulation of fatigue from these sets, and I'm gonna go for the main sets now. I'm gonna do today is I have a variety of high rep sets in each training. Today is gonna be interval training, which is going to be a 3-minute EMOM of a third of my max reps per minute. So that's going to be my max reps in 3 minutes, actually a little bit under. And then I'm going to have some rest and go for that round again for about 3 to 4 rounds. I plan also to do it with push-ups or bar dips, whatever I feel like. And first of all, I start with the pull-ups because it's usually one of my weakest points, and I want to just improve that. So I put that in the first part of the session. When I finish with the pull-ups, I'm going to rest a few minutes more, just make sure that I have any accumulation of fatigue, and then I'm going to go for the push movements, which are push-ups or bar dips, whatever I feel like today. Okay, so I'm going to start with the first set. For pull-up, I said third of my max reps. I calculated based on my max non-stop reps, so not the unbroken. If you feel like you need to rest in order to complete another rep, that's not your max reps. Okay, this is actually how I calculate it. I calculate it based on my max reps. I'm just spamming reps until I feel like I have to rest at the bottom to complete another rep, and that's my max. So I actually haven't checked that in a long time. What I'm gonna do is just based on my calculations, so I'm gonna calculate it from 42 pull-ups non-stop, which is actually exactly 14. I just got lucky. If a third of your max reps is not a whole digit, just round it up or round it down. I usually just round it down because it makes every set a little bit just easier, so you can get the volume, pretty much the same amount of volume, but without too much fatigue. So let's start with the first set of 14 pull-ups. Alright, so I'm done with that. I have 45 seconds left for the next set, and this is how I'm gonna do for 3 rounds, then resting for about 4 minutes, and do it for another 3 to 4 times. Okay, that was the third round of the first round, so the third minute. I've done basically 100% of my max non-stop reps, but divided into 3 sets, each one with a little bit time to rest in between, so I can actually get the volume without too much of the fatigue. And now I'm gonna rest for about 45 minutes and perform it again. Okay, so I just finished the third round. I'm already breathing pretty heavily, and you can see that the last round was really hard, but I still managed to do it non-stop without any resting at the bottom. Of course, technique wasn't 100% perfect, but this is the whole idea, to let the body, expose the body to a very fatigued state and still manage to get the reps in, even if it's a high rep set. Okay, so here necessarily it's not exactly high rep set, but it's divided into lower intervals, but together they form a very intense set. So I'm gonna rest for a few minutes and go the same thing for push-ups or bar dips again, whatever I feel like. I'm probably gonna do it with push-ups. Also, you might have this question of why I rest so much between the supersets. So that 4 to 5 minutes that I rest, it's basically to replenish the body energy systems, so I can actually perform for 3 rounds, even though it's not a lot of time. Just 3 rounds, it's not really much, but each round is very intense. I have to recover from that, so the rest period are very long, so I let the body recover and I can actually sustain that effort, really high intensity effort and pace, doing everything non-stop for all of those 3 rounds, that each one of them actually consists of 3 rounds, so that's 9 rounds. And the same thing goes for push-ups. I'm gonna do 3 rounds of 3-minute EMOM each one. With each minute I'm gonna go for a third of my max rep non-stop, and then resting 4 to 5 minutes between those super rounds. So let's start. I also forgot to mention, between push and pull, I also rest a lot of time in between, so I can actually have the maximum quality for each movement. Usually I rest about 9 to 10 minutes, which is a lot of time, but the thing is, if I rest 4 or 5 minutes, like between the sets of pull-ups, I'm still gonna have fatigue in my system. So 10 minutes allows me to have the minimum amount on fatigue, but still being warmed up for push-ups. Of course, it's still not 100% fresh and recovered from the pull, so that's why I'm gonna go a little bit less than a third of my max reps on push-ups, which I believe it's around 85. I actually haven't checked that, but if it's 85, that's gonna be set 28 reps per set, so I'm just gonna go for like 25, and it's still gonna be pretty hard, I believe. Now, if you have a problem of doing push and pull on the same days, if you feel like it's too tiring, you can actually split them into separate days, which is usually what I do. I usually have high rep sets that are a different kind of variety, like single high rep sets for pull and push, and those are way more tiring than intervals. So what I do is I just split those days. I usually do one day of pull and then the next day push, so I have a full day of recovery between movements, and that way I can manage the quality for each set, not compromising the quality for just being able to do them in the same session. So let's move on to push-ups.
Let's go.
That's it. Okay, so as you can see, the third set was pretty challenging. The third set of the last round. I actually thought it would be harder, honestly. I mean, I'm not saying it was easy, but I have the feeling that I can go for another round, like another 3 rounds like that. And I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna keep it low intensity because I also have other parts in this training. And also, it's the first time I train push and pull together, so it's pretty interesting to see how the fatigue from pull-ups affects push-ups. And actually, it didn't affect that much, which is really interesting. I'm very surprised. And now I'm going to continue to some low intensity work, same thing as the warm-up that you've seen. So 10% of my max reps, maybe a little bit more than that. Same pull-ups and push-ups, doing with the perfect technique I can. And that was actually the main part of the session, those high intensity EMOMs. It's a variety. Again, sometimes I do single high rep sets, so I might do a video on that as well in the future. This training was based on interval training and pull and push, doing a third of my max reps, non-stop reps. This is very important, for each minute for 3 minutes, resting for about 4 to 5 minutes so you can recover between one set to another, and doing 3 rounds like that. You're probably going to take time to recover from this session because it's pretty high intensity, while also not compromising the volume, which usually the higher the intensity, the lower the volume. Here you actually have both, which prepare you really well for high rep sets or for endurance sets where you have a lot of tension, a lot of intensity that you just have to endure continuously for a few minutes. So this is a great training for that. And I'm just gonna go now for some low intensity EMOMs. If you have any questions, comment down below. I'll see all the comments, I'll answer you, and see you in the next video. Ciao.